Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we are talking about a Manchester United win. Now, first things first, apologies if you can hear noises in the background outside. There's not really much I can do about it. But when Scott McTominay scores 2 goals in added time to make this the first time ever that Manchester United have gone into added time behind in the Premier League and still won, you know, when that happens, we've got to talk about it, regardless of that background noise. So that's what we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about the good and the bad, because let's be honest, whilst the result was extremely fun and it was a brilliant result, that adrenaline rush at the end, it wasn't a good performance, so we need to talk about that. And of course we need to get into the tactics, so just let's get into it.
So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFifa for 10% off when you order.
The main focus will be Manchester United in possession of the football, because that was the main theme of the game, really, and it's actually where United struggled quite a lot for large periods of the game. For example, when United were trying to play the ball out from the back, they had difficulties. Brentford pressed in a very similar way to what I pointed out in my preview that they would do, with one of the wing-backs pushing higher, like this, one of the midfielders, Jensen, stepping out like this. Then they're going to go kind of man for man everywhere else all over the pitch. United really struggled with this, and you know, I don't necessarily think that Ten Hag deserves too much blame for that, because if you look at the back four, the profiles of them, these aren't great first phase receivers. Maguire isn't the best at receiving the ball under pressure, neither's Lindelof, neither's Johnny Evans. So it's hard to criticise Ten Hag too much for that, because of the personnel he was kind of forced to play. But it was a bit annoying to watch, because it meant that a lot of the time, United just had to go long with the ball. Now, sometimes that really worked, because Rasmus Højlund was doing an excellent job of battling for the first ball. But because these players are dropped deep, and Rasmus Højlund is pressed quite high, it just opened up the middle of the park, which meant that if Brentford could then get on the second ball, they could then hurt United. If United could get on the second ball, they could then hurt Brentford. So that was kind of a theme of the first half in particular, with the ball just going long quite a lot really, but kind of aimlessly. The one thing that United did have in terms of playing the ball out from the back was to use Diogo Dalot, because he was the one player in these deeper areas who looked like he could receive the ball, kind of throw in a little bit of skill, take on his man and progress the ball forward. And if you go on Twitter or something and look for the ball progression numbers, Dalot was right up there for his ability to carry the ball forward, and it was his ability to beat his man and then carry the ball forward into the final third, kind of carrying the ball down the right-hand side, really doing his best to provide the width for United. But still, apart from that, in general, it wasn't great in possession. You know, United were able to control the ball for most of the game. In the first half, we often saw some sort of variation of 2-3 or a 3-2. So, for example, at times, Lindelof would push forward, Amrabat would drop a little bit wider, and we'd see a shape which looked like this. But then another time, Dalot would push further forward, and Amrabat would come across, Lindelof would come into this area. So it was kind of a changing structure, but with Brentford dropping super deep into their 5-3-2, especially after the goal. And I mean, just quickly on the goal, you got to feel sorry for Ten Hag. Casemiro, it's an absolute blunder. I don't know what he's doing with his pass. Lindelof then fails to kick a ball, and then Onana can't save the most simple shot because his footwork was horrendous, and his save technique was also awful. So, not sure what happened there. So yeah, you definitely got to feel sorry for Erik Ten Hag. There's not much you can do on that goal. But particularly when you play a side against like Brentford, just giving away goals is so cheap, because what they then do is they did go to a low block. I didn't think they would. I thought they would be a bit more aggressive in this game. But no, this was a 5-3-2, a proper low block, getting so many players behind the ball. I can't quite get these players deep enough to really capture how defensive they were. But the problem that this left United with was, now at least they've kind of got over the problem of playing out from the back, because Brentford are sitting off deeper anyway. But the new problem is, can you actually break Brentford down? And truthfully, for an hour, for 70 minutes, the answer was no. And the reason for that, the main reason for that, was because in this first half, what we saw was down the left-hand side, Lindelof would try and get forward, Amrabat would try and get forward. But this is a holding midfielder and a right-footed centre-back playing left-back. So the other one's trying to support Marcus Rashford. Now, Brentford get over really well and defend these areas. They always commit a lot of players over to one side. But if we're talking about, you know, there's 4 or 5 Brentford defenders here. Lindelof, a centre-back, Amrabat, a holding midfielder. they're not the sort of players to help Marcus Rashford unlock a defence. You know, they're not going to do those attacking combinations to break this sort of team down, and that was the problem that United had down this side. I actually thought Marcus Rashford played pretty well, and people in stream seemed to agree with me. I don't think he was incredible, but I thought he was decent. Considering the kind of the help he was given, I thought he played quite well. Now again, I'm not really blaming Lindelof and Amrabat either, it's just not what they're used to doing. But again, because of the injury crisis, they kind of have to. Down the other side of the pitch, there was another problem. Because whether it is Bruno Fernandes or Mount starting wide, they both want to come inside the pitch, leaving Dalot with the only one really providing the width. Now don't get me wrong, Dalot actually had a really, really good game down the right-hand side and was a brilliant attacking outlet. But when he's kind of the only player attacking down that side, again for the first 45-60 minutes, it's a problem. And basically you're now kind of really reducing the effectiveness of the two United wings. So the left wing isn't that effective, the right wing isn't that effective. When you then consider you're playing a 5-3-2, where they've got about 100 players in central areas, Brentford, it's difficult to break it down. And that is the trouble that United faced. We also had someone like Casemiro just giving the ball away and not really managing tempo. Amrabat looked a little bit sluggish in the first half, particularly when he was being asked to drop into these sort of areas. But then we saw the change at half-time from Erik ten Hag. Casemiro came off the pitch, Amrabat moved more central, and Eriksen came onto the pitch. And this was a change which United desperately needed. Ten Hag has used the words, "I wanted to play more football." That's why I made that decision. And United still weren't perfect, but suddenly they looked like they could control a little bit more. They had much better management of tempo. What we also saw in the second half was Mason Mount moving wider and Bruno Fernandes coming inside. And again, it's still not perfect for United because Mount still wants to drift inside, so you've still got the same problem down here. But down the left-hand side, the dynamics are now a bit more improved because Eriksen in these areas, rather than Amrabat, is that more attacking, that more progressive player. And he's got that kind of different eye for more of a creative pass. And I think that definitely helped United down this side of the pitch. But again, if we're being honest, it still weren't great. I feel like the one bright spark in these sorts of situations was when people were getting the ball into the feet of Rasmus Højlund, considering he was often playing against three centre-backs. And three actually very good centre-backs. I think Rasmus Højlund done a really good job of trying to hold the ball up. It's just a shame he didn't get more runners around him. That was a real shame. But, you know, again, United were still struggling. And again, it's hard to blame Ten Hag because he just doesn't have the players available to him at the moment. Down that left-hand side, when you're playing Lindelof, it's going to be a problem. Down that right-hand side, when you don't have a winger, it's going to be a problem. But of course, we kept seeing changes. And what we see around this moment is not the most important change because that definitely has to be Scott McTominay. But we saw Mason Mount come off and we saw Marcus Rashford come off. Now I actually think both of those two played alright actually. I thought they were decent. But with Garnacho and Antony on, we got better profiles suited to the situation. And the reason for that is because Garnacho is this sort of winger which just kind of does stuff out of nothing. He done really well when he came on. But Antony is going to provide the width. So when it's Bruno Fernandes playing on the right hand side and he steps in like this, it allows Brentford to crowd over because there's no threat out here. When you suddenly move Bruno Fernandes inside and put Antony out wide, it starts dragging that Brentford defence about a little bit. Do I think Antony was great when he came on? No, he was alright. There was a few sloppy passes. He should do a little bit better, but he's obviously lacking sharpness. But he's just instantly stretching the pitch and making it more difficult for Brentford. And when you've got centre-backs like Harry Maguire who can switch the ball from side to side, and by the way, on Harry Maguire, absolutely brilliant performance. Flawless performance. I thought he was absolutely quality. People love to hate on him. This man deserves a chance in the first team because he's playing well at the moment. And yeah, I thought he was absolutely brilliant again in this game. But these changes just give United a different dynamic out wide. It allows them to kind of push forward a little bit more. We then also saw Lindelof coming off for Martial. I'm just going to make sure that I get all these subs right. This did mean that Dalot played a little bit deeper, which obviously reduces some of United's threat down the right-hand side. However, again, because Antony is on the pitch, that doesn't matter so much because the width is still being provided. And at this point, Eriksen is pushing forward, Bruno Fernandes is pushing forward. United realistically are all the way up in these areas. And finally, we're starting to properly sustain pressure. And again, it's because Amrabat is in the middle. He's a much better controller of tempo. He kind of took hold of that game and just controlled it from this middle position. United did still lack kind of creativity in the final third and chance creation. But at least with Amrabat in the side and also Harry Maguire, they were dictating the play. And when you do that, when you pin teams back for a long period, eventually things do start to come your way. And it just so happened that it was a certain Scott McTominay which came our way, came Brentford's way, and ultimately saved the day for Manchester United. Did I think before the game that Scott McTominay would be the difference maker? Probably not. Probably not, but what a beautiful script. Scott McTominay comes on, 2 goals in added time. So for the first time ever, United went into added time in the Premier League behind and won the game. What an afternoon. Again, was it great? No, we've gone through the tactics there. We've seen it wasn't that great. I will point out again that whilst it was a lethargic performance, I don't think that was actually on Ten Hag because, again, if you look at the personnel of the team, it's really not very good. But to have this win in this style could be so huge for Manchester United. 3 points is absolutely massive. At the stage in the season, the situation United are in, to have that moment at Old Trafford, twice in added time, it being a homegrown player doing it, a player from the academy. He said he's been here since he's 5. He knows the United way. That might be the most important thing of all. Not about the tactics, not about the performance, not about what subs manipulated the opposition. Just 2 goals in added time, securing all 3 points. This could be a huge boost for Manchester United. They've now got the international break, and now you're going into that. You've got 2 weeks where in the back of your head, the last time we played, we won. And that could be a big thing for the players, because we haven't had that yet this season. I think the longest we've been on a winning streak is about 5 days or something. So this is actually the longest United players can say, we won our last game. And that could be big from a psychological point of view. It will be Sheffield United after the international break. United are going to need to knuckle down in that game and make sure they get all 3 points. But this definitely gives them a boost. Again, Harry Maguire was absolutely brilliant. I thought he was incredible. It'd be huge for his confidence. Scott McTominay, who hasn't had much game time this season and has been poor when he has played, this would be huge for him. The whole team should get a massive lift from this. And hopefully Ten Hag maybe learnt a lesson or two. How much better United were without Casemiro in the team in the second half. Perhaps that's something that we could see more moving forward. But in terms of for this video, we are going to wrap it up there because I am a tactical analysis channel. And truthfully, United didn't necessarily win because of incredible tactics, I'll be honest. It was good subs from Erik Ten Hag. They came on, they affected the game well. Martial, also another one who does deserve a shout out for his good performance. But yeah, 3 points at Old Trafford. A crucial 3 points. But I think I'm done for today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.